So what you've just heard is a metal mix that I've completed. It is a song by Killswitch Engage called End of the Heartache, and it is a cover which has been recorded but the original vocal stems were included. So I'll show you what I did to it. So the first thing I'll show you is the kick. So on the kick I've got the DBX 160 compressor and an SSL G channel. So the sort of kick. And I've just put the bass drum preset and then customised it to what I thought I liked. And then I've got on the SSL, I've got the preset, I got another preset again, but then I've customised it. This is the kick sound. And then the kick out is it's got the same compressor settings, but it's got an F6 RTA and EQ, which is just a graphic. And it's got a cut off at around about 360 hertz, but it's quite it's not a very sharp cut off, but it's because this is basically a sub kick, so it's got a bit of a boost, a bit of a cut around 125 to remove a bit of boxiness, and a bit of a boost around 60 to give it some of the punch on the low end. And then the overheads here, they've got a tube compressor which is hitting about 5 dB gain reduction, and then they've got the F6 RTA, which is pretty drastic EQ on it. It's a cut off around 500 hertz, which I know isn't normally what you want to do, but the overheads were very harsh and just didn't sound good at all, and there's a lot of snare in them, and the snare sound was awful, so that's why there's such a big drastic cut to remove the snare. And then there's a bit of a cut in the high end as well, because to remove a bit of tinniness. And then I didn't want to remove all that treble, so I've added an exciter to artificially add in a bit of nicer sounding treble to the overheads, and this made the overhead sound a lot better. And then the hi-hat, it's got the same compressor but different settings, and the same EQ. And then on the room, I've started off with an SSL channel compressor. Then I've got SSL channel, not an SSL channel, an SSL master bus compressor, and then an SSL channel with this preset, which I really like. I think it makes the drum room sound amazing. And then there is another EQ, just removing quite a lot of the harsh sounds which I didn't want in the room, especially a lot of snare it's removing. You can hear that the compressor absolutely slams the room, which I really like the sound of in the mix. Now the snare was quite complicated to mix. It was out of the box. It was quite a bad snare sound. I'll just play you the end of the snare. There's the snare top. Here's the snare top with all the effects. You can hear it sounds better, but I was not happy with this sound, so I blended it with one of the Logic samples, and then that's just got an SSL channel on it, and then I blended it with one of my own samples that I found online, and then I think I've got the snare sounding pretty good. And I've used the gate inside of the CLA drums, which is like a multi-effects thing for the snare made by a mix engineer. And the gate, I've used the gate in this, and it's a very good gate. But as you can see, it is maxed out, and there's still cymbals in. It's because the sound was very, the snare was very has a lot of bleeds, to say. Listen, it sounds very much like it sounds a bit like a room mic with no gate on it. But yeah, I'm quite happy with the snare. And then onto the toms, it's just a simple SSL channel. But I've used everything. Instead of using my own compressor, I've used the compressor inside of this. I start with a preset and then just customised. And then the bass, there's a lot of different bass sounds. So I've got bass deep, which is like a very low sub type sound. And then bass tone, which is a sound inside of guitar rig. And then bass nuke, which is very distorted. I'll play you just the software VST bass. I wasn't happy with this sound though, so I reamped it with an actual bass amp, and then with 4 different mics, but I only ended up using 3. So I used a Sennheiser E902, an EV-RE320, a Sennheiser MK8, and a Rode NTK, but the Rode I just muted because it was very mushy sounding. So this was the bass tone I ended up with. And I was quite happy with the bass tone. Then over onto the guitars. So the guitars were all DI'd, which is the DI. And there's 3 cleans. So I've got clean 1 and 2 panned hard left and right, and then clean 3 down the centre. And these are just, I found a nice amp inside of guitar rig and just dialed in a sound. And then here are the distorted tones. What I did is I loaded up guitar rig on a PV5150 cabin head and loaded in a preset and then customised it, and then it's running in then to an SSL channel. I'll play the guitar with no amp on just to show you what it originally sounded like. So yeah, you can hear there's a drastic difference, obviously, because it was no amp. And then here's onto the buses, so this is just guitar distortion. Drums. Bass. Snare reverb. And then parallel compression, which is using the H-Comp, which is my favourite parallel compression compressor. I think it just sounds very punchy and it's very good. And then there's the clean guitar, which is only in a very small part of the song. And then onto the mastering. That's just a level meter, and then I've got an NLS channel, which is just like vintage desk emulation. And then Abbey Road vinyl with the mix bus hi-fi and the noise and the crackle turned all the way down. And then a tape machine emulator, again set to a mastering preset with the noise level off. And then finally is the L3 master bus compressor. This is just a multi-band compressor which stops everything going over 0. And that's just on full reset and just dialed in myself. And then I've used a bit of automation to fade in and out the track.